Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. A warm welcome to Muslima Insight. Today we are going to continue our discussion and interview with the two gentlemen from the Heavenly Culture World Peace Restoration of Light. A warm welcome and thank you for joining us again.
Thanks again for having us.
Coming back to the topic of world peace, we looked at your company's youth group that is engaging on an international level with the different youth from different cultures, different backgrounds, tailor-made for each particular nation. And we very briefly also touched on the women's group that is there to effectively to empower women and to educate women to stand for their rights in their respective communities. Taking this a little bit further to the other group that is almost, one would say, that the parent of them all is the interfaith group. Can you share for us the what religious leaders in their respective roles can do to contribute to world peace?
Yeah, you know, with the research we've done, when we had our very first summit in Korea, we saw that actually 90% of the world's wars have been fought over religion, you know. And this shows that religious leaders have to truly take responsibility, you know, in what they teach from the scriptures. Because religion itself doesn't come from man. It's something that God has given mankind, you know, to connect us to heaven and to God. But if we as religious leaders are irresponsible in what we teach the youth and what we teach the parents and what we teach the congregation, then we cannot say it's from God. Because then we are totally going against what God is saying and using our own strength and our own standard of saying what is right and what is wrong. But the thing is, if God has given us such a beautiful and wonderful gift from heaven to connect our spirits and guide our souls to where God needs us to be, then religious leaders must use the tool from heaven in a way to guide people to heaven, and not in a way to teach things of the world and to teach people to kill in the name of God. You know, because this is the same God that we all serve, whether you're Islam, whether you're Christian, whether you're Buddhist, whether you're Baha'i. You know, we serve a God of love, a creator, you know, who is life. So then who are we to put ourselves in God's seat and take life, you know, on the grounds of religion? So as our chairman believes, is that religious leaders will play the main role by uniting, you know, coming together and sitting down and saying that as people of religion who teach scriptures, let us look at what is right according to the scriptures, not apply my own thoughts which suit my national interests or my self-interest or the power I hold over a certain nation or people, but let's look at what the religious text itself says. So in South Africa we've had a program called Peace This Together, where we've always had between 7 to 9 religious leaders sitting down and discussing things like peace or things like God or things like heaven according to their religious text. And what we found is that most of them agree, you know. So why are there people fighting religion? I mean, fighting wars over religion.
And it goes back again to being uninformed. Uninformed of the true context of the application of scripture. And also when it comes to preventing moral degeneration, because I think what I understand is that morals and values are in all religions. We may have, like you have alluded to, the different ways that a Christian would pray or a Muslim. Ultimately, what would unite us in the framework of peace is our morals and our values. And how would you say, if we look at the ambassadors that we find present in different countries, what role can ambassadors play?
Okay, that's for you.
Well, for speaking about the summit that we hold now, the Youth Summit, we try to get all the ambassadors of South Africa to come to that summit, because Pretoria actually has the most ambassadors after Washington in the entire world. So it's something quite unique, where you have almost every country in the world represented in a different country. And with their unique history and worldviews and mindsets, they can bring so much to the table in in educating the youth about peace, and about what the real issues are in their countries. Because not all of us have had the chance to travel or have seen these other places, but the ambassadors play a key role in representing their country and their country's knowledge, because each country has something they've overcome with regards to peace and war. So they can really bring that to the table.
Yeah. And I think also what would be beautiful is the interaction of diversity. Like you are saying, it is to find the unity in the diversity and diversity in the unity. And then also coming back a little bit closer again to home, to South Africa, if we consider the African Renaissance, African leadership, in South Africa we have got our traditional leaders as well. How do you see yourselves engaging to that level so that they can take it further to grassroots, to the communities?
Yeah, traditional leaders, as you know, as you mentioned, they play a role, especially in rural areas, you know, and they have a strong hold there where people really hold their views very highly. So this is actually not only to them, but it's a call to all leaders, you know, who are in a position of educating people, who are in a position of ruling over people, to truly help them develop a sense of heavenly culture. And heavenly culture is not something that how can I say, it's not something that belongs only to a certain specific religious group. It transcends that, because it's about valuing humanity, you know. So traditional leaders should teach their people that they should value human life, you know, that peace is something that they should have within their traditions, you know, and promote that. So, you know, there are a lot of negatives as well that we've read about, that we've seen, that take place under traditional leadership. So, using this heavenly culture and this culture of peace, we want traditional leaders also to take responsibility for what they say, you know, how they treat their people, you know, and to also make sure that they educate their people on the matters of peace. Because if their nations that they're specifically ruling over cannot be peaceful, then themselves as leaders, they cannot come and sit at a platform for peace, you know what I mean, if they're not practicing it.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes absolute sense. And then also if we look at our political leaders, taking it now into governments, how do you see the heavenly culture engaging, and what has actually transpired in the past that you can share with our viewers?
Okay. You know, it's been great to be able to work with certain departments from the South African government, and certain cities like City of Tshwane perhaps, that assisted us in certain various ways in our summit that we had in Tshwane, City of Tshwane at UNISA. So, you know, the governments in themselves, as you know about the two agreements, right, that came out of the very first summit, the agreement to enact an international law for the cessation of war, and that is for political leaders and current presidents and former presidents, you know, and this is basically something for them to sit down at the table and agree to come up with an international law that can be approved by the United Nations that will outlaw war, you know, and them as people of government, you know, who have authority, as well as chief justices, we've networked them and worked together with them to achieve this purpose, you know, and to also the key ones, to have them as advisory members of the board of Heavenly Culture, World Peace and Restoration of Life, so that they can make this world peace possible and make it a law, you know, to outlaw war, so that international community doesn't just put pressure on for things that benefit them economically, but put pressure on matters like peace, which affect us as a global village. So that is the one practicality from government leaders, why we have them on board, and people who work in, as well as the judiciary as well. And then religious leaders, there's the Religious Unity Agreement, meaning that religious leaders need to unify under one umbrella and truly work together to achieve peace, because religion is the main cause.
Absolutely.
And I think it's because of the miseducation. So the way to counter it is to really, we have to educate our people, whichever religion you are. We need to properly sit down and dialogue and find what the scriptures are saying and what is correct according to the scriptures, so that people do not support things like Boko Haram or ISIS or ISIL, if you want to call it. So people truly support what is right according to the prescriptive scriptures and what the scriptures are saying, so that we are not misled by people who want to preach or proliferate their own views.
Absolutely,
you know?
Absolutely. On that note, it is time for us to go to an ad break. Stay tuned. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. A warm welcome back to Muslima Insight. Brothers, if we look at what we have discussed, there is the heavenly culture, which really addresses the religious leaders, the community leaders, the politicians, the ambassadors, that really is at the forefront of making or breaking a country. And then also we touched on the women's group, for women to come into their full right, with respect, in their dignity, to be honored as that. And of course, we also spoke about the youth group in the previous program. How do you see each of these different groups and individuals that come into these groups living up to the responsibility of creating a world of peace?
Well, I think no matter who you are, woman, youth, adult, religious leader, political leader, it's up to us to take this, like our chairman says, take this responsibility of peace and this mantle of peace and work for it. And we should work and plan for peace the same as people plan for war. And we really, it's not something we speak about in a beauty pageant, that a lofty ideal, but world peace is something that is really possible if we all work towards it with all our heart, and if we work fervently towards it. And as South Africans, I don't think we realize what we actually represent to the rest of the world, because we are people that have overcome a great division, and now we are the rainbow nation and kind of the living representation of what is possible with a people that are united, that transcend culture and religions. And even though there are a few hiccups here and there, we are a united, amazing, powerful nation. And when the chairman and chairwoman were here, they were at Freedom Park actually, and kind of Freedom Park offered hope to them as a Freedom Park representing a nation that has overcome division to the nation of Korea that is still divided. So we can, in our own rights and through our own history, become ambassadors and messengers of peace. And
also when mentioning South Africa and the fact that we overcame that difficulty that this country went through, if it wasn't, again, that takes us back to religion, the attribute of forgiveness, the attribute of overseeing, overlooking, and at the same time the growth that has to take place for individuals, for the collective. Absolutely, I can only but agree that South Africans really need to realize the example that they are actually setting out there for the rest of the world. Brother Sizwe, what is your closing statements on today's program?
My closing statement would be us as an organization, together with our chairman Lee, who's worked tirelessly to create peace, and sacrifice so much of himself. We as young people should sacrifice ourselves, to work for peace in our communities. We come from a place where we have struggle heroes, apartheid heroes, but let's create a generation of peace heroes, where we as young people want to be the peace heroes and be the role models, and say we want to be champions of peace. It starts with us. The government, they'll come on board, but we have to show them that we as people can mobilize ourselves for peace, and as well, we also want to get involved in the areas where conflict is very rife, whether it be in Africa, Middle East, or in the Oceania. Something many people probably don't know, Mindanao, the island of Mindanao, was in war for 40 years between Muslims and Christians. And our chairman, Mr. Lee, mediated peace talks there, and now they are currently in peace.
What an achievement.
Because, yeah, you know, so we want to get involved in the conflict zones. We cannot say that we work for peace, but shy away from where the matter is really out of control, you know. And we believe that if people can come together through these religious unity offices that we're trying to establish and sit down and talk about what is actually causing, what is the root of this violence or this war, where does it stem from, then there definitely will be a solution, you know. I believe that God looks at our hearts, and if He sees that our hearts are pure in establishing this peace for the people's benefit and to preserve their life, He will surely help. He'll surely help, you know. And yeah, that's it from me.
Thank you so much. And Brother John, from your side?
Just to add to what Caesar said, as youth, I think if everyone can join under one umbrella and work with IPYG and stand together and say, we will not fight anymore. And if we can change our mindset to that of heavenly culture and follow what HWPL is doing, and if we as youth can help gather the leaders and speak about these things and truly be educated through heavenly culture, I think in a few years we will speak of war as something as only in the history book.
Yeah.
And I truly believe that a new generation of peace is possible if we do this.
Absolutely, absolutely. I thank you so much for joining us once again. If you can just perhaps for the sake of our viewers mention your website address where they can sign up to become a part of the heavenly culture.
So the three websites, it's ipyg.org, and then HWPL's website is hwpl.kr for Korea, and then International Women's Peace Group is www.internationalwomenspeacegroup.org.
On that note, we have come to the end of today's program, and I really would like to extend our gratitude for your presence here today and sharing the visions and the objectives of this peace group that is globally, worldwide. And I also would like to take this opportunity to invite Muslims and non-Muslims alike from all walks of life to also join Muslim Youth in Dialogue, so that you can be advised of the various activities, dialogues and discussions, as well as youth initiatives that will be taking place. And you can contact us on myidpg@gmail.com. And on that note, do look out for the interview that was taken in our Cape Town studios with the chairpersons of the Heavenly Culture for Peace. From myself, Adila, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
This question is addressed to Chairwoman Kim Yoon-hee. The Chairman has spoken about the role of women and the role of youth in creating this world of peace. Please may you tell us about your travels around the world with the Chairman, and how have the women particularly responded to these travels?
네, 그 이 회장님 말씀처럼 여성 그 단체를 이제 그 세웠다고 하시는데요. 이 여성 그 한 여성 지도자로서 이렇게 해외 다니시면서 이 여성들의 역할이 어떠셨고 여성들의 반응이 어떠셨는지 궁금합니다.
네, 우리 여성은
The women of the world, they have the responsibility as the mothers of the world to protect our children from any more suffering and from any more terror across the international community. And therefore last year, according to Mr. Lee, we established and we held the WAORPS Summit for religious leaders and political leaders. At this very, I would like to call a festival for peace, it was an event, an unprecedented event that could not even be held by our government. It was held by a simple NGO, but various individuals from the political aspect. And these are leaders I'm talking about, religious leaders, cultural leaders, and women leaders. They came together, and it was almost as though they found a treasure of this answer to peace. This year, a few weeks ago actually, I attended the International Women's Day at the UN. I was invited to come and speak. The very goal of this UN summit for women, and also the very goal of our organization, is to ensure that the mothers of the world can protect their children in not fighting in these wars, and also to protect them in these wars. And I believe that the reason why they invited me was because they wanted to hear the message of Mr. Lee, but they could not invite a man to a women's association. So the various people, they are so happy to hear this message. And all the women, I professed, very confidently that Mr. Lee was a man who had this message for peace, and they all became one together. So I believe, in order to protect the families from being broken, in order to protect our children from suffering, I believe Mr. Lee is an individual who has been sent to us as a messenger of God, perhaps. And therefore we have to join this initiative. We have to listen to his message. And all the women especially have to join organizations such as IWPG. And all the political leaders, as Mr. Lee mentioned, have to sign this international declaration and this international constitution by law. And therefore the women of the world are all joining this initiative to play their significant role.
There are so many religions in the world, and there's so many religious scripts, as you've mentioned. The most important thing, the one thing everybody wants to know is, how does one find the truth?
그 세상에 많은 종교도 있고요, 많은 경서도 있습니다. 이 가운데서는 사람들이 어떻게 진정한 진리를 찾을 수 있습니까? When you talk about the truth, there is only one truth because there is only one God. Many people throughout the world, they translate it in their own ways, and this is philosophy. It is not right. It is not right according to the eyes of God. And therefore, today, in this day, I believe that God will give to us and to individuals a revelation. Because the truth, if He is the truth can only come from Him. There are many individuals, religious individuals, who have to come together as one. They have to discuss their religious scriptures. They have to see which religious scripture relates and correlates most to God. And this is why we've established the international unity branches for religion. And when they can come together in dialogue and discuss their scriptures, it will end many of the conflicts. I'd like to make another point. When we were in the Philippines, in the island of Mindanao,
사람의 인원수가 제일 많은 그 종교 단체가 이슬람교입니다.
We saw that there was an extremist Islamic group. And throughout the world we can see that the religion with one of the most believers in the world is the Islamic religion. And also, for 40 years in the island of Mindanao, the Islam extremist group was fighting against the Catholic government of the Philippines. Not the government for 40 years could not resolve this conflict. Even the individuals within the Catholic Church could not resolve this conflict. And also the very leader of the Islamic faith, he did not go and try to resolve this conflict. I could no longer witness this conflict happening for 40 years, where 120,000 people, innocent lives were lost. But when I went there and we did our peace initiative and our movement and established projects, they became one. The very individuals who are fighting on the ground level, they signed an agreement for peace. And now, on this day, in the island of Mindanao, in that very conflict zone, which was a conflict zone, there is a monument established for peace. So the message that I gave to them was a message of peace. And last year in Seoul, South Korea, on September the 16th to the 19th, we held an international World Summit for Peace. There were actually two sessions, one for the political leaders, one for religious leaders to unite together. So many religious leaders, the leaders of religious sects, they all came together as one. We had youth leaders, women, female leaders. We had various cultural leaders and political leaders from different aspects of the world. They all pledged together that they would work with our organization. They all pledged together and they signed an agreement to work together as one. If you look in any nation across the world, there has not been one event that has been held in this manner. I believe that it was made possible. I believe all those people and their hearts could gather because God helped us and God moved each and every one's hearts. And they didn't even fight on this day. Nobody argued because I believe that it was by the power of God. In this way, I feel that God is working on this earth. Because I see that you're a very clever person, so you can figure out why this was a success. People who used to fighting each other came together and they signed an agreement. I believe this is because God reigned over their hearts. And the very signing took place at the 63 building in Yoino, South Korea. And over this building there were various clouds, and I believe that they were protecting us on that day. I read in the Holy Scripture that wherever God moves, the clouds will gather. And so because we signed under the clouds, I believe that it felt like we were signing under the heavens. So all of this power, all of this grace is given to us by God. And those who witnessed that day have all professed and all claimed and testified that it was truly a day that was given to them by God. So it doesn't matter how many people you have. It doesn't matter if it's an immense number or a few numbers. You all have to unite as one. Am I right?
Yes.
He wants you to say, we are one.
We are one.
That is the point I'd like to make. We all have to unite as one.
I
hope that you will replay this interview various times on ITV. And by the command of God, you will become an ambassador of our organization.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And the last question actually is to both the chairwoman. And this basically is just asking, what is your hope for South Africa? Since you're here, what is your message to the women of South Africa, to the political leaders and the religious leaders?
그 마지막으로 두 분께 이제 그 마무리 말씀을 부탁하겠습니다. 그래서 남아프리카 시민들에게 그 어떤 그 희망의 그 메시지를 전달하고 싶은지 두 분께 좀 부탁을 하겠습니다.
이 세계는 모든 각국
throughout the world, we have various nations and various cultures.
이 아프리카, 남아프리카,
But on the continent of Africa,
이 나라는
on the very nation of South Africa, out of all the nations I have been to, I believe the people here, they have a strong yearning for peace. Not only the yearning, but they have the ability and the potential to make peace in this nation. And this is because I believe that the spirit of Nelson Mandela, former president, and the great late Nelson Mandela reigns within their hearts. And therefore, in the nation of South Africa, I believe everybody has the potential to resonate the spirit of peace within them. And therefore, we must all become peace ambassadors ourselves. And to ensure the legacy of the next generation is a peaceful one, We must all become one family. Thank you very much.
I did not begin this movement just of my own accord. I believe this is something that heaven has commanded of me. Can a religion claim to be righteous and good irrespective of the actions of its believers?
I'd like to ask you to please help us prepare for the upcoming World Alliance of Religions for Peace Summit. Please work with us to achieve this goal.
People of religion are meant to be light for the world, but when they fight against one another, they become a disgrace to the God they claim to serve. These people should rather try to understand one another and become a true light as believers. When I go to the Philippines, I want to encourage them to sign an agreement to make peace. I'm sure things will go well. Please wait and see.
Ms. Kim shares her experience of the peace advocate with the viewers. Throughout his travels, to each place he goes, the peace advocate brings love to disputes, unity to disunity, and forgiveness to hatred. From the moment he arrived in Mindanao, I knew that he would do no less here. I know this man, the advocate of world peace, has the answer to achieving peace on earth and the end of war. He came here to Mindanao to propose a peace agreement.
Whether a person is a follower of a religion or not, everyone must unite and create a world where there are no wars.
It is definitely not easy to gather all these people in one place. Supporting Mr. Lee's peace movement, former and current heads of state, prime ministers, congressmen, chief justices, and others truly shine the place with their presence as the International Advisory Committee.
Greetings and congratulations to President Lee and Ms. Kim for hosting this very important summit on peace. It is my hope and prayer that this World Alliance of Religions Peace Summit will convey the importance of peace.
Today, the spirits in heaven and people on earth are gathered here to witness this unprecedented event in human history. We call heaven and earth as witnesses for today's summit. And in front of the one and only Creator, we declare the beginning of the World Alliance of Religions Peace Summit for the cessation of wars and for peace. According to the will of heaven, the time of a previous, corrupted generation has ended, and we now welcome a new generation. We are all born into the same world, but young people and students are forced out into battlefields where their lives are sacrificed without ever having the chance to mature and enjoy the prime of their youth. Neither politicians nor the laws of our world have been able to offer compensation to those who lost their lives in this way. For this reason, the UN, former heads of states, and lawmakers around the world should draft an international law for the cessation of wars and world peace. All current heads of state, those who love their country, their people, and peace, should then sign this international law. This is how we can create peace on earth. Each religion claims to be based on the Creator, yet there are hundreds of different religions with different scriptures and practices. These religions then have disputes with each other, bringing disgrace upon God. People live by the light, rain, and air provided by heaven. Having received this grace of life, they then kill one another in wars instead of loving and protecting each other. I was sent as a messenger of heaven to deliver the message of revelation and peace. If we are unable to accomplish this, humanity will not be able to escape destruction. If we succeed, everyone will be blessed. The true God, who is the source of all blessings, will reign over the world, and he will unite with religion, which has become one. What we need to accomplish today is to bring the wars on earth to an end, achieve world peace, and leave it as a legacy to future generations.
In 2014, Mr. Lee, the World Peace Advocate, has begun a new chapter in the history of mankind's quest for peace, calling on religious and social leaders to participate in the summit of the World Alliance of Religions for Peace.
Starting point for the advancement of humankind.
Alliance of Religion Peace Summit has begun in Seoul of Korea yesterday. Politicians, people of different religions, representatives, organizers, social workers from all over the globe came together for the World Summit.
With the aim of making the world a better place for the future generation, a new vision for the world peace revealed in Seoul, Republic of Korea, hosted by Heavenly Culture, World Peace, Restoration of Light on the 18th of December.
Günün manşetine Seul'dan katıldın ya, artık başka bir şey diyemiyorum.
Murat, sivil toplum örgütünün böyle bir organizasyon yapması şaşırtıcı bir durum.
Estamos en el Estadio Olímpico en Seúl, Corea, donde asisten unas 200.000 personas, principalmente.
Vesjelën kronikën vazhdim.
Është presidenti I konferencës së Seulit, 100.000 spektatorë të cilët pranishëm ishin
على كل حال دول لهم
Dvije stotine hiljada ljudi okupilo se danas u Seulu da traži mir. Da traži mir koji postoji.
الدعوة إلى استثمار كافة الجهود المدنية والدينية العالمية لنشر
200 000 résztvevő elnökökkel, miniszterelnökökkel, egyházi vezetőkkel, a Föld valamennyi jelentős felekezetének képviseletében, a Föld szinte összes országából.
We pledge, in sight of God, all people of the world, and the peace advocate, to become as one, under God, through the unity of religion.
Let's hear it for God of peace. Let's hear it for the unity of religion. Let's hear it for the family of peace. Let the Walk for the Peace Festival begin.
An unprecedented event on earth which could never have been possible without God. As a witness to this scene, you too become a witness of peace. The greatest news of humanity World Alliance of Religions Peace Summit.
The mother figure to all the people of the world, Miss Nam-hee Kim's speech left a deep impression that awakened the true value and the meaning of heavenly culture.
The long-awaited era of the cessation of war and world peace has finally come. Beginning with Mr. Lee's declaration of world peace, proclaimed at the Peace Gate in the Republic of Korea, the waves of world peace spread throughout the world, and finally today, we have come to bear the fruit of peace here in this place. Mr. Lee has traveled to every part of the world to convey the message of peace, and I have witnessed things I consider to be miracles of peace during his travels. Today, the World Alliance of Religions Peace Summit is being held right before our eyes. This Peace Summit is being broadcast live globally, and the eyes and ears of people all over the world are fixed on us. Everyone, what is this peace you dream of? Could it be considered a world of peace if that peace is limited only to your own country or religion? A world of true peace is a world of life in which everyone is free from mourning, pain, and death. This is the peace that the Creator wants to give us. And herein lies the reason why I say that Mr. Lee is the one with the solution to creating world peace. Within the heavenly culture, Mr. Lee speaks about there is such truth. If you experience and learn about this heavenly culture in depth, you will realize that Mr. Lee, having devoted his life to the achievement of world peace, truly is a mentor for the whole world. To the youth of the world, he is a father figure of peace, and to all creation in need of peace, he is as a president of a heavenly nation. We must not fight with each other. We live under the same sky and on the same earth. It is evil which opposes the will of the Creator and causes wars, and it is evil itself against which we must fight, not with one another. Through this World Alliance of Religions Peace Summit, let us unite all religions and offer our religion to the Creator. When light meets light, there is victory.
What is your hope for South Africa? Since you're here, what is your message to the women of South Africa, to the political leaders and the religious leaders?
그 마지막으로 두 분께 이제 그 마무리 말씀을 부탁하겠습니다. 그래서 남아프리카 시민들에게 그 어떤 그 희망의 그 메시지를 전달하고 싶은지 두 분께 좀 부탁을 하겠습니다.
네, 우리 남아공 모든 국민들은 참으로
all the citizens of South Africa, I feel, are truly blessed.
실질적으로 평화를 이룰 수 있는
It is because men such as Mr. Lee, the chairman of HWPL and a peace messenger, he has come and visited this nation, this beautiful nation, 3 times.
아마 여러분들의 그 나라의 만델라
Just as Mr. Lee has mentioned, the great and late Nelson Mandela, he truly wanted peace, he yearned for peace, and he fought for peace. And that very heart, I believe, has resonated all the way to reach the heavens. And this is called the presence, such as Mr. Lee and peacemakers throughout the world. We went to the Freedom Park recently, and over there we see all the names of the fallen heroes that have been commemorated throughout the history of South Africa. And I believe that these individuals who fought for the freedom and the peace and the prosperity of this nation will not go in vain. At this very venue, at the Freedom Park, we will establish a peace memorial in the name of Mr. Lee. And so I feel that if Mandela was alive during this time, he would be very proud to see what was happening in this nation. Because through Mr. Lee and through his organizations, a new era of peace will soon appear. And so, to all the women in South Africa, we have a solution. We have an answer for peace, as Mr. Lee has stated. Peace is not something that can just be given to you by waiting and sitting down. You have to do it for yourselves in your own families, for yourself and in your families and in your communities. And the first step is to join organizations such as IWPG, so you can be aware of what is happening on the international scale, and you can be aware of how you can actively join these initiatives. And to all the individuals, the citizens of South Africa, who have listened to this message today, I hope that it can be promoted to the whole continent of Africa. Thank you very much.